Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 6 of the PwC Tech Talks. We're going to be talking about a new study on the benefits of VR collaboration in this talk, which is super exciting because we're not just going to talk theoretically about it. We're also going to talk about the numbers that come along with it. And to help us do that, we have Nilusha from the University of Münster and André from the Ministry of Internal Affairs in Lower Saxony, Germany. So super excited to have you both here. And Alex, as always, my co-host, my faithful co-host, who, despite feeling very sick today, has said, there is no way I'm missing this tech talk. I'm absolutely going to soldier on, and we're going to see this through to the end. So thank you, Alex.
It's the only way. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Your passion is unparalleled. But we hope everyone can see us and hear us okay. If you can you let us know what city you're joining us from? If you write in the comments on LinkedIn or Twitter, we'll be able to see those live here in our studio backend system, and we'll be able to highlight some of these comments as they come in throughout the talk itself. So if you do have any comments you want to make, or you want to tell us where you're from, or you have any desires to see different directions in the report or further study in different areas, do let us know. We're always keen to hear that. I can see some comments coming in already. Alyssa from Los Angeles. Welcome, Alyssa. And welcome to all our guests from different parts of the world. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here. While people join us from all these different countries, Genoa, Italy, welcome, Roberto. Good to have you here. I also want to quickly give a shout out to the PwC Global Marketing team, who won a number of Digital Impact Awards yesterday. And we just found this out for the With You in the Metaverse campaign. And that was a big marketing campaign. It comprised different media, text, a centralized and decentralized 3D virtual world or metaverse environment, and even a video that Alex and I took part in Austin, and we filmed in Austin, Texas. Erin, welcome. I saw you're joining us from Austin as well. And that was incredible fun. If anyone wants to see that video, we'll post it after this along with a load of other material. But yeah, we're getting some great people joining here from, we got some from Normandy. Excellent. Cornwall, UK, Dusseldorf, Switzerland, France. Excellent. It's good to see that the Tech Talks truly are global, as always. And so let's begin. Why don't we start, Alex, with yourself? I know a lot of people have heard from you now, but let's allow you a chance to give your introduction.
You'd think by episode 6 we would have our intros down to like a T, but every time I'm very tempted to say something new. But hi everyone, Alex Ruhl. I lead the immersive tech team in PwC UK. Have the pleasure of working with the global powerhouse that is Jeremy Dalton, and we're always helping clients and industry and even ourselves at PwC understand the business value of immersive technology and other emerging technologies and looking at that intersection. So really excited to be joining as always. And this study, I think this is going to be a game changer. So excited to dig into it. But Jeremy, why don't you give your liner?
Well, Alex describes me as a global powerhouse, but I describe myself as Alex's equivalent in PwC US. So that should tell you all you need to know. But most people, I think, know me. But if you haven't, I started PwC's first virtual reality, augmented reality team. And this began about 10 or 11 years ago. And as Alex said, we're talking to lots of different clients in different industries about the use of these technologies, writing reports, running workshops, developing software, and so on. And I've written a book about the use of VR and AR in business called Reality Check. But over to you, Nilusha, for your intro.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So hi, everyone. I'm Nilusha. I'm part of the XR lab at the University of Münster, where we do a lot of studies around XR, but more particularly VR, and how to find out the value of immersive technologies in our societies and in the way all of the life context that we all have. And yeah, I'm doing my PhD right now. I'm in my 3rd year, and I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic to have you here, Nilusha. Over to you, André.
Yes, hello. I'm André from Germany, from Lower Saxony. It's in the north of Germany. I'm from the Ministry of Internal Affairs in the public sector. So I'm the crazy man in the public sector in this topic.
Love it.
Yes, and I'm the program lead of more than 20 projects, and and now I'm here. Thanks for that.
It is an absolute pleasure to have you here, André and Nilusha.
And
Thank
you know
you
what they say, crazy to some is pioneers to others. So in this context, you are a pioneer.
That's a good definition.
Two sides of the same coin, right?
True.
Brilliant. Well, let's start talking about the study now. So for context, and I'm actually going to share a little video with you so you all have an idea of what's going on here. Let's bring that up now. Perfect. So this will give you a little bit of a context behind the meetings that took place in André's team in Lower Saxony, Germany, where they used virtual reality headsets to conduct a number of workshop sessions over the course of a few months, and then did the same thing in a video. We're using video conferencing software, and this study is incredibly important because it compared those two media directly. So it allowed us to see what were the differences or the impacts of using both media, and we found some really interesting results. But before we dig into the numbers, and we have numbers on both sides, so we have numbers to talk to you about regarding the positive benefits, and we also have some numbers to talk about on the negative side. So what are the negative impacts of using VR for collaboration? Because we always want to provide a balanced perspective on the use of these technologies. But why don't we go to you first, André, to understand, you're part of a local government organization in Germany, and it's amazing that you've adopted virtual reality for this purpose. But can you tell us why you did that?
Yes, okay, that's easy. In the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, we started an agile transformation, a big agile transformation. And when agile teams work together, they need collaboration, they need interaction, and the best is for them on-site meetings. And so in the pandemic, we only had video conferencing, and that doesn't function in the best way. So we needed a tool that enables us to collaborate better, a tool to enable complexity and better communications than video conferencing. And so we look to virtual reality.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, it's great to have that context to understand and see what happened exactly. But what about the resources you employed? So in terms of the headsets you used, how many there were, all those questions. Can you help shed some light on that?
Yes, we have a two-phase pilot. In the first phase, we had only 15 headsets to look, is it a solution for our problem at the first step? And then we can scale, or we scaled the pilot, and we rolled out over 70 headsets for the people in this project. This included onboardings, trainings, and then what you see, we did our first Gate Agile VR PI planning. PI planning is big room planning, and parts of it are retrospectives, confidence votes, other workshops. Yes, that's it.
Brilliant. And that's great to hear. So going on to the results now, Nilusha, I want to hear from you around what exactly we found. And I know we highlighted 4 of those comments or 4 of those findings today. So let me bring a few of those up on screen, and if you want to talk through them, that would be very helpful for us.
Yeah, I mean, maybe first to put the context in it. So we had the possibility to support or to I think do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
fine.
Okay, perfect. So we accompanied the ministry while this study. So we wanted to have like a perfect experimental situation where we compare 2 treatments at the same time. So treatment means VR, and then video conferencing situation. So what we looked at was, first of all, to see, okay, what are the differences when it comes to meeting settings? Like, how are people feeling? How are they perceiving the agility, the way of talking to each other, communicating and stuff? So we looked at different concepts, and like different things that are important to make meetings good. And I think you highlight 4 of them, so we can maybe go through them. Yeah, exactly. So communication is just about how easy and how intuitive is it to just talk and communicate with other people in my team. And I think what we see here is plus 70 or 16%. So we compared like a video conferencing platform and VR, and we see that people using VR for meetings are just like, it's easier for them to communicate with each other, which is very intuitive, because you talk to people right next to you. This is, I think, very interesting. So maybe moving to the next point to just give you an overview. I think this is one of the biggest findings, the feeling of being together with other people, which is especially something that VR brings with it. You feel like you're in the same room, you see the people right next to you. So we see that VR, of course, enables meetings with more closeness to it than other video conferencing platforms. And then maybe the next. I think this is very interesting when it comes to satisfaction with workshop results. Of course, we don't know objectively if the results were better, but people feel more comfortable about what they did with their team. And this is also, we can discuss about it later, but how and why it is that way. But I think this is very interesting to just see right now. And then the last one.
Can I jump in on the last one?
Yeah, of course, please.
Because this one I found particularly interesting for a different reason. 15% more comfortable in virtual reality. Now, most people, even the hardest of VR advocates, of which there are many among us in the audience, they will say virtual reality headsets are not as comfortable as sitting in a chair looking at a computer screen. So how is it that we saw greater than 15% and greater than an increase in 15% of comfort in a virtual reality meeting? So we want to walk us through some theories that we've been discussing.
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I think we have to distinguish maybe between the physical comfort part and the psychological comfort part. When it comes to the physical comfort part, of course, those headsets can be clunky. They can be like heavy over time or edgy somewhere. But I think what the magic about VR is that it brings you and immerses you into this world where you're surrounded by the people you're talking with, and it kind of gives you this feeling of, okay, I'm together with the others in this, so I'm more comfortable to maybe share information, to have more private conversations maybe, which I wouldn't have just like in a setting where I'm in front of my camera and talking into a PC or whatever. So I think this is one of the strongest arguments that we can bring there. I don't know, what are your thoughts about it?
Well, I don't have statistical quantitative data on this, but I have a lot of anecdotal data that supports the psychological comfort of having a digital avatar represent you in a virtual world, whether that's through a virtual reality headset or simply in a desktop-based metaverse world. And Alex, maybe you've seen this before as well, where you don't feel as scrutinized if you have your digital avatar representing you in that world as you do when you're on camera constantly. And I mean, I personally don't like video conferencing, and I will gladly tell that to everybody. You know, I would much rather have a digital avatar represent me. It's just not so common in business meetings these days. So what I do is I have this halfway house where I turn on my camera when I'm speaking, and then when I'm done speaking, I turn it off. I'm sure maybe some people find it rude, maybe not. Let me know in the comments, actually. Tell me what you think.
I feel like a lot of people will be doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because, you know, when you think about it, I mean, what we're doing right now even is, it's like you're having a conversation, but you're also sat in front of a mirror. So you can't help, right? You can't help but like be distracted by yourself. Whereas in VR, it does genuinely give that sense of presence of, I can't see myself. I'm represented by an avatar. I'm interacting. I've got that spatial awareness. I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all around these stats. But I think, I mean, and I'm happy to like jump around in this conversation.
Thomas is not a fan.
I'm happy to jump around, but I'm kind of curious, you know, and I don't want to rush away from the benefits, but I am super curious to hear what were some of the things flagged which were not benefits? Like, what were maybe some things that people preferred about video conferencing compared to VR?
Should I answer it, or maybe André?
You go, Nilusha.
I go? Okay.
To anyone else.
Okay, perfect. So the biggest thing we find is, of course, that exhaustion topic. So I think it's like a combination of not just having hardware or devices that are heavy and clunky, and over time you kind of get like uncomfortable maybe with it, but also the fact of having a screen right in front of your eyes. So we're talking about like a lot of information and also graphical, visual information coming in. So I think you always have to kind of work with that and work around that. And I think what went very well with the projects right now, and maybe André can tell something about it, is that they made sure to have a lot of breaks and enough of breaks in between those workshops, and to make sure that people don't get too exhausted. So maybe André can say something about that.
Yes, in meetings and virtual reality, we make more breaks. We can't do meetings such a long time. So the meetings we make before in video conferencing, typical agile meetings we made there, we have to size them down. That's new. Nobody knows what are the results of these meetings, etc. That's more complicated. It's a new way what we have done in this place.
Yeah, and I think there are certainly many challenges associated with running virtual reality meetings, and those need to be considered in context with the benefits.
Exactly.
So I'm glad that you were able to outline both the positive and the negative here, because it's incredibly important to have both of those views in mind as we implement virtual reality.
And maybe if I could add something to that, I think because Alex, you asked what are the contexts where maybe one would prefer a video conferencing. I think what we see also in other studies that we're conducting in our lab is that when you have meetings where people want to be multitasking, like have your mails there and check something else, and like not have to focus directly in one situation, of course they will feel less able to do it if they're like locked up, so to say, in VR. So I think the great the benefits of VR is that you get people to really concentrate in one situation, to really be there and to focus. And I think especially for creativity tasks or for something like those workshops where people have to talk to each other, it's perfect. But I mean, there are other meetings maybe that would not fit as well. So you have to take that into consideration.
That focus point is really interesting, because that is exactly what we found in a previous PwC study on VR for soft skills training, of which I'm sure many in the audience have seen and heard now. But we did find that there was greater focus in virtual reality there. So it's great to see the backup of this finding in different studies as well, despite being for different use cases. It was training there, and now it's remote collaboration here.
The only thing is that it's very important to say which environment it is, because there are some environments that are very distracting. So if we're talking about our work environments and like those, I don't know, there are different apps for that. I think the focus might be better then, but it's not to generalize it, I think, for
And actually, we'll go on to some questions shortly, and there's some questions that are relevant to this, like what metaverse environment was used for the study. I know Bruce was asking that, and we'll get to that in a second. But before we do that and look at questions from the audience, feel free to write more questions, and we'll start to answer them in a few minutes' time. I can see a few here, which is great. Nilusha, let's talk a little bit about some of the other numbers that you found in the study, which we only highlighted 4 here, but there were more in the full Munster report, and we have even more that we're going to publish at a later date in a much more detailed study. But for example, I know we saw factors like an increase in fun, like an increase in anticipation for attending the next meeting. Do you want to walk us through some of those, just so we've got a little bit of extra context around different numbers?
100%. I think those are measures that are totally underestimated sometimes in contexts like this. Like, nobody thinks about fun when we're talking about meetings, but there are actually a lot of studies that show
Except for Alex and I, we do think about fun.
Yeah, that is a good thing, guys. No, but like there are a lot of studies that show how important fun is for also the results of meetings, and how people are motivated, and how much they involve and are committed to work or to a meeting or to a company in general. So we see in our data as well that, of course, it's not of course, but I mean, it's intuitive. The people who met in VR had a lot of more fun. I mean, they could interact with each other. They could like take their notes and put it somewhere, or like fool around, but still be productive while doing it, because they just had like so much fun. And I think this like the feeling or looking forward to the next meeting is something so important, because I think there is nothing worse than just having the feeling of, oh no, next time again, it sucks. And I think that is a very, very good factor coming into that.
And it was 25% more fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah.
It doesn't sound very fun, us talking about a specific number. It was exactly 25.3%.
Yeah,
more
that's
fun
exciting.
But yeah, I think fun is very underestimated. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, I just highlighted Nathan's comment there. Like, I think fun is not only underestimated, but also, you know, we talk a lot about inclusivity in the workspace. We talk about, you know, kind of creating an environment at work where we know now that we spend so much of our time working compared to maybe previous generations, that there is an element of actually needing to introduce kind of like ways to keep things exciting and productive, but also, you know, we're humans at the end of the day. We want to connect. So that stat around feeling more connected with your team, huge. Fun factor. I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of pushback around VR being, you know, like a novelty. And I say to some people, do you know what? To some extent, right now, it is a novelty. And we should lean into novelty, because novelty is the spice of life, right? And actually, if we did the same thing over and over and again, you're going to get burned out. You're going to get into these ruts. And actually, you know, creating a new space where you can think differently is really important. Really important.
Absolutely. So we've only got 10 minutes left, so I'm going to jump into questions, and I'll quickly answer this one. So Daniel's asking, will you share the slides after the session? I assume you mean the stats. So you can catch the stats, Daniel, in the LinkedIn post that you joined from. I'll add a little comment there with further reading. We'll include the blog post with the stats, so you'll be able to access it. It won't be a problem right after this. André, I'm going to turn to you for this next question now. Bruce is asking what metaverse was used for the study. So, i.e., what application were we using for this to run these meetings?
Okay, if I have to answer what metaverse, what is a metaverse? Okay,
let's not open that one again.
but I know what he means. Which platform we use? We use a platform from Arthur Technologies.
Arthur, yeah. So Arthur is a platform that we've had a relationship with for many years now, alongside Engage, alongside Spatial, and a few others as well in the industry. So good to see them on this report and being used in that way.
We also did a lot of studies with Glue, for example. So there are a lot of like apps out there that support meetings and like those contexts as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think it's not surprising really that remote collaboration apps are probably, in my opinion, in the B2B world, probably the most advanced in terms of their functionality and their kind of their fidelity. So great to see them kind of having the spotlight and kind of seeing like positive stats coming around. One technical question here is, what was the meeting time in real life versus in VR, André? Because you mentioned that obviously you couldn't maybe do as long in VR. So what was that like?
Yes, a whole PI planning, a big room planning. It's 2 days, completely 2 days. You're 2 days in video conferencing. And that doesn't take function with virtual reality. So we picked out some parts of them, like little workshops, and the maximum time was 45 minutes in VR, and then we have a break about 15 minutes, and then we can do the next session. And the meeting for the same thing in video conferencing, you don't need the break, and put it together a little bit shorter. But the main part is a break.
I think what is very important here to say is that the study we're referring to, we just looked at one 45-minute meeting, which was exactly the same for both groups. So we're comparing two exactly same length of meetings at the same day, in the same moment, the same task. So that is maybe important to
Good clarification. I would say it's a very good thing that we didn't put people in VR for 2 days straight. So,
yeah, I think so as well.
well done on the study methodology there.
Yeah.
So we have another question here from someone on LinkedIn. Could you clarify, are the data points related to the meetings or was it a learning workshop? So correct me if I'm wrong, Nilusha and André, but I believe we're just using those terms interchangeably here. They are one and the same. It's a workshop or a meeting, but it was an interactive session in which there was a lot of conversation, a lot of physical interacting with hands and sticky notes, and so on.
Exactly.
Yes.
We describe it a little better in the report, so if anyone is interested into it, to look it up.
Perfect. And we'll include a link to the report in the further reading as well.
Yes.
So people
here's another one for you, Nilusha. How are the numbers calculated?
So that is a very good question. So we hand out surveys after those 45 minutes, like when we're just talking about this study right now, after the meetings or the workshops, and people had to give perceived or perceptions of their meetings. So we, for example, asked how much fun did you had, how much did you communicate with your I wouldn't want to say it fellow students, but like with your fellow people. And it was all they had to choose on a Likert scale from 1 to 7, agree a lot or like totally agree or do not agree at all. And then we just went with simple averaging and then did some t-tests, so to like check for the significance. Like we're getting very statistically, but that is how we did it. But if you're interested in the questions, we also have exemplary questions in the report, so feel free to look at them, and I'm also happy to share the questions that we used, like for other studies or something. We're very transparent about that.
Brilliant. And then we have a long question. Sorry, it's going to block you out, Nilusha and André. But we'll keep
no problem.
Erin's asking, did you find that the level of participant engagement changed? Seems like on traditional virtual meetings, there are typically a core group that contributes to that change in VR. So in other words, did VR users become a little bit more courageous, perhaps? Did you notice that anecdotally? Because I don't think you looked at that specifically.
Yeah, I think maybe André can answer that because you were there. Also, I was just there for one meeting time, so maybe from anecdotal point of view.
Yeah, what's your view, André? Does virtual reality make people more courageous or more willing to talk up in meetings? Have you seen any of that at all? Or not? If not, that's fine too.
I think there's more engagement. An example, you stand in the meeting, in the VR meeting, with 6 to 10 people, typically in an HR team. And if you're on the VR meeting, some people like me, I talk every time, not today, but normally I talk the whole time. And we have also in IT projects, typically some introverts people, and they don't talk. And in video conferencing, I don't see it. I talk the whole time and he said nothing. But in virtual reality, we stand together and I see, oh, what do you think? No? You say nothing because I see him. No?
Yeah,
and that's a real effect we have, what shows us a difference.
So to say that, to explain that in another way, if you're on video conferencing you've got 20 people, you've got 20 really small images of people all over this very little 13-inch screen in many cases. And in virtual reality, you've got the entire real estate around you, and it feels more lifelike and you feel more natural looking around. And so you can more naturally detect when people are not contributing.
Yes. Another example, in the whole PI planning, we are more than 150 people to up to 200 people in one conferencing, and part of them, 70 people around, are in VR. And if I present my system demo, my results of the project, after that, the people in video conferencing went out their way, meeting was finished. And what happens in VR, two people goes on the right side and they talked about that, what I have thought.
Yeah, just like they might do in the real world. They might say, let's chat in this corner.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's it.
And I think Thomas is saying, actually bringing up a very good point. Ultimately, at the end of the day, VR is more natural than video conferencing anyway. I think that is the key point here.
I'm curious because you just mentioned, André, that there was 150, but I think you mentioned that you only had 70 in VR. So did you ever do like hybrid where you would have some in video conferencing, some in VR and like integrate it?
Yes. We have this, and we have some challenges for in this point that both can see and hear the same at the same time. It was a really challenge, but it take function. I have a very good support from Philipp Sustmann. I think he's in the chat already, and he managed it.
That's amazing.
You did a great job, yeah.
I have one question. I know that we're going to have to wrap up soon because we are nearing the end of the stream. But one question for you as well, André. Again, you opened this by introducing yourself as, the pioneer that is, willing to implement this, willing to be on that forefront in a public sector, no less, right? What were some of the challenges you might have got internally around, like even just the concept, like of using VR in this way? Were there some barriers? What can people learn about that and how you got over those to actually get this adopted?
Yes, we have challenges. I can tell you some. Cultural change management, it's a big point. And if you know a Kotter leading change, every point you have to look for. You need a vision that you communicate. What would we do? What is the vision of use we are? You have to communicate this. You have to communicate a clear scope. We did 2 pilots, and for every pilot, we need a clear scope why we do this. No? The people don't come and say, yeah, we want to use it. We have to challenges with onboardings. On the onboarding, we have 2 parts. One part, we have 1 people and one who does the onboarding, physical, its place. That functions good. The onboarding via Skype or as another video conference system doesn't function very well. We have challenges with the people who are wearing glasses under the headset. They need more support, no? And proper device management. It's a really hard challenge.
Yeah, the usual suspects.
Yes.
In all use cases in virtual reality. That's really insightful, André. We appreciate that. And just before we wrap now, because we're out of time, I want to call out 2 very important individuals who are instrumental for this study. One of them being highlighted here at the bottom of the screen, Philipp Sustmann. Philipp was the one that worked really closely with André and Nilusha at the University of Münster. And we're very grateful for him for initiating this and making this happen. And then secondly, we also want to thank Professor Thorsten Hennig-Thurau, who I hope is also on this call with us here. And Professor Hennig-Thurau, thank you so much for being the lead from University of Münster on this study. It is massively appreciated. And I'm sure the virtual reality industry is grateful for these numbers. And so we look forward to posting even more numbers and having discussions about them and what they might mean, not only with remote collaboration, but potentially for other use cases as well. So on behalf of Alex and myself, thank you all for listening to this Tech Talk, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks so much,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.